Hey guys, so welcome back to Facebook Live. We are so excited that you decided to join us today. Remember, this is our summer learning series. So we just started back Facebook Lives yesterday, and we are on the summer learning series. So we are having authors on. I'll introduce our fantastic author who's sitting here. You probably already know him, but anyways, I'll give him a little intro in just a moment. But before we get started, I just want to remind us that please do tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do over in the comments. And remember that every single comment is like throwing a ticket into a drawing for a free book. So we will be talking about a book today, Instant Relevance. And the author's here to join us to talk about it, to answer questions, to kind of give you some ideas of how you might use the book or ideas from the book in your classroom, right now, in your conversations with your families, whatever. And at the end of the conversation today, we will choose one live comment to win one of those free books. So you definitely want to engage. You want to talk to us, tell us who you are. Hey, Holly, welcome. And just introduce yourself, say where you're from, what you do, and we will get started. So DBC Inc., Facebook Live Summer Learning Series, Episode 2. We're super excited to have Denis Sheeran. He said like Ed Sheeran, but only better. I agree. On the show with us. We're so excited to have you here. Denis, I'm going to let you do the honors. I know that you are my DBC brother. You're a fantastic author. You're an amazing educator. All things awesome. But I'll let you do the honors of sharing like more details of who you are, what you do, and what you stand for.
Well, thanks, first of all, for having me on here. This is amazing. I love the idea of being able to share conversations with people in all different platforms now that I'm still kind of stuck in my home. So for those of you who don't know me at all, my name is Denis Sheeran. I started out as a high school math teacher for 13 years in Illinois. I taught in Lake Forest, Illinois, in case any of you are familiar with the area. And then I moved to New Jersey, where I grew up about 8 years ago, and I took on a school district administrator position. And it was at that point in my life as an administrator supervising math classrooms that I realized a lot of the things that I had done were not the best things for kids. It was like not engaging. I'm watching kids sit in a classroom while they're just staring up, they're waiting for their teacher to finish so that they could leave. And it really started to make me think about what it meant to be truly engaging and really truly relevant for kids, and to tap into what it is that kids cared about most to create a powerful learning experience for them. So through that experience, over time, I kind of developed the idea behind the book, Instant Relevance. The subtitle of that is Using Today's Experiences to Teach Tomorrow's Lessons. And I think one of the things we're afraid of ever is really veering away from curriculum or veering away from lesson plans. But we have to take those opportunities to really engage in what's valuable and powerful at the moment. So this published 4 years ago, and I'm super excited to still have this conversation. I've been able to talk with teachers around the country, and I'm currently now working with schools all over the state of New Jersey on implementing instructional math coaching and curriculum design for Rutgers University. So that's a little bit more about me. I do have 4 kids. I have a high school going now. We have another week left of school, but starting next year, I will have a high school junior, a high school freshman, a 4th grader, and a 2nd grader. And my wife is an elementary music teacher, so ours is a house full of school and people all the time. So that's a little bit more about me and how I got to this point in time.
Well, you are a fantastic guy. You've been all over the place. And I love your message, Denis. I think it's so relevant, all puns intended, for right now. There's so many things happening. We are making history, and 2020 is just a year.
It's more like 4 years, as far as I can tell.
It's really a year. And so Instant Relevance, tell us a little bit about the book and like you said, just why you decided to write it. I think you have a similar story when you said that, you realize, I think any educator in here, so we have several have joined us. Thank you for joining us, Stephen, Alicia, Lisa, Holly. We're excited that you're here, but I think any of us could say, at one point we were just like, what am I even doing? Like, my kids are not interested in what I'm talking about. I'm just flipping the pages of the curriculum, doing the best I can. I remember my first year of teaching, and I kind of thought I would go rogue. Like I wanted to like actually go rogue and try like all this crazy stuff that I was thinking would be fun. And then I was missing out on curriculum. So it was kind of a little opposite, but still a similar thing. Like, yeah, they were engaged, but we weren't learning the stuff we needed to learn either.
Right.
So how do you balance the two? And I think that's what you have done so beautifully in your book, is just talking about these moments where it's just a wonderful teaching moment. Like you're not negating the standard, you're using relevant topics to teach the standards. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about your book and teach us something.
I think that's a good question that has come up to me a lot, is how often do you do stuff like this? You know, how often do you change your plan? And it's not about that. It's not about this linear approach to everything, about like, well, I have to do this, then this, then this, then this, and this, and then I'm going to cycle back and do this and this and this and this again. And my kids will have learned because I did all the things that were in a row. It's much more about the idea that you have an opportunity, and you can either decide to use that opportunity or not. That's up to you. And it's not bad if you choose not to. But if you recognize that there is a truly an opportunity for you, instead of putting a fake context on top of a problem or on top of a situation just to try to make it a real situation for the kids, you now have an opportunity instead to extract real learning from an actual context. That's where there's power lying. And I mean, I give a lot of examples in the book. And if those of you who haven't read the book are really interested, most of my examples are like a page and a half long. I'm a short story, straight to the point type of guy. So you can read a couple of these and sit down and not have missed too much of your time with your family. But I call things like that make it real moments. And for anybody out there, if you follow me on Twitter, if you drop a note in there, if you send me an email at some point, I can send you a Make It Real sticker to go along with your sticker collections, right? But here's the thing. I'm going to use one of the examples from the book. I had a teacher who took a day off of school because her daughter was having her birthday. And teacher took a whole day off to make a birthday cake for her daughter. I'm like, day? According to the box, it says it's going to take 45 minutes and then I got to let it cool. She's like, oh, no. She makes this big fancy 3-tier wedding cake looking birthday cake for her one and only daughter. And it's beautiful. She spends the whole day on it. She's putting fondant and styles, and it was all American Girl and whatnot. And I asked her, as she was teaching geometry at the time, like, that's really cool. Are you going to show that to your kids at all, like your students? And she's like, no, why? I'm like, well, because that is an opportunity for you to connect who you are and what you do to a real relevant opportunity to bring something into your geometry classroom, throw a picture of the cake in front of the kids, and instead of saying, here are the measurements of the cake, let's find its volume, which, by the way, is boring. And I know that because I've asked that question. Just throw it up there and ask the kids, what do you think? You elementary school teachers out there in the list are really familiar with what do you notice and what do you wonder? You know, and you follow that with, I wonder how much frosting is in there. That's too much frosting. I hate frosting. Oh, really good question. That's a surface area question for a high school geometry class. Or I wonder how many people were coming to the birthday party. Well, that's a volume question. How many servings there are in the cake? How big is a serving? How much should be there? I don't have to ask those questions, and don't you bring up snowflakes with me. But I don't have to ask those questions for kids to be able to ask those questions themselves. And that's a quick, lighthearted opportunity to get kids into your world. And instead of teaching them a volume and surface area of cylinders lesson, maybe in context, take it out of order and teach it through that example. And that's the power of something that is powerful in your life, being relevant to your students because they're connected to you with relationships. But there's so many more opportunities to connect to what is actually relevant to a student, and then have them lead the learning too.
So true. And such a great example. I love it. And how many examples do we have like that every single day, right? When you're looking for real moments, like it's not really that hard. If you have a pulse, like you're moving around, you're exploring stuff. And I think a lot of us are actually figuring that out, honestly, right now with all of this virtual learning we have going on. You know, I've seen a lot of really cool stuff like making learning happen. They're like, oh, this is learning. Kids don't even know. They're just like having fun. They're enjoying it, but it is learning.
And that's what's so interesting is the fact that we took kids out of our classrooms, and we took ourselves out of our classrooms, and then asked ourselves, how are we going to make the same education happen? And for some people, it literally was just like their hair was on fire. Like, I can't do this unless I have my counting chips or my word wall. How am I going to do this? I'm like, well, figure it out. Because if you ask your kids how they'll do it, I bet you they come up with 15 suggestions right now as to how you can replace what you just did.
Yeah.
They'll think about figuring it out. Put it in their hands. Try to connect with them in a different way. And like I said, my wife is an elementary school music teacher, and she was just back in her school yesterday for the first time since March 12th. And she went in and she saw her sign that said March 12th on the door, and she's like, wow, it really hits me that I'm not in here. But she had to collect some things and bring it home. And she brought home some instruments and some stuff, and she brought home a box of handbells. There's these little simple handbells you can play where you tap on the top and it makes the correct pitch. And she put the box down and walked out of the room. And like a minute later, my first and third grader and eighth grader had the bells out and were playing songs. And so she threw up a YouTube video from something called Boom Whackers. If you've ever seen those, are the big long tubes that play music. And they're sitting there playing the song in front of them. And then my son is looking at his bells and he's like, I'm going to move this one here and here. On his own, he's organizing them so that he can do it his own way. And then my eighth grade daughter scooped up all the bells when they were done, went to the basement, and is starting to learn like all of the parts with all of her little fingers on these bells. And like, I didn't have to say, hey, the music lesson for today for your special for remote learning is playing bells and blah, blah, blah. She just put the stuff out in front of them. And they decided how they wanted to learn and what they wanted to learn. And they played into that really well. No, I guess there's a pun in that, but they played into that very well with just being able to set up their own world and play it the way they wanted to. We've got to be able to figure out, and in this situation with remote learning, we're in it, what kids care about most and what they're interested in most in order to be able to connect it to what we care about and what we want to teach. And in that world, it's going to take some time and some listening to figure it out. And since we're separate, maybe now we have the time and we have the opportunity to listen.
It's so true. I love that. And I love your example too of just putting the opportunity to learn, play out there. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if you follow Paige Kuros's Instagram account. She has a new one. It's called, that's George Kuros's wife, if you don't know, teach.me.mom. And she has these, so for anybody in here that's working with preschool, I think I saw Monica Spillman. I know she works with the littles. That is a great website because she gives these opportunities for her little 3.5-year-old. She just puts them out there. It's just an option to like play, but it's also an option to learn. And it's so fun what her little girl will just come up with on those things. And she puts all kinds of cool examples of these opportunities to learn. They're just out there, and she puts them out for her little girl, and it's at their house. And yeah, this beautiful learning takes place in the process. And I think if we did more of that as teachers too, we'd just be surprised. The kids come up with, like you said, your daughter went down and she already figured out like chord progressions, basically, like how to string these notes together and make a song. That's impressive. And I think that's what we do when we tap into the interest of our kids, you know.
Yeah, well, I just followed Paige, so thanks for that heads up.
Perfect. You're gonna love that if you have littles, but even if you don't, it's just cool to like see what she does and how she just really just puts it out there. And it's just on this big table, and then Kalia will come by and just start learning. She's playing and learning.
There's such power in curiosity, obviously. Like, that's not me, that's not anybody. I can't say there's such power as curiosity and quote me on Facebook in a book, in a box. Like, that's one of those, I'll put Abraham Lincoln, he probably said it. But like, you just put something out. As a math teacher, one of the powerful tools that I love using is something called Desmos. It's an online graphic calculator and activity builder and everything like that. And a year ago, I was testing out a Desmos activity that was a replication of Super Mario Brothers 1, using parabolas and quadratics to have these kids move. And I was just testing it out. And my daughter literally came into the room, walked past me, backed up, took the computer out of my hand and started doing it. I'm like, oh, I forgot to mention to you, today's afternoon is brought to you by Graphing Quadratics. You know, no, like, she didn't care about that. She wanted to try this thing out. And putting those opportunities in front of kids is powerful. And in this remote world, there's a real power in, if you are okay with this, bringing the students into your home and into your world in a powerful way. Like the fact that I could sit in front of a video like this and talk my kids through a screencast of some fraction examples and call myself like a video producer for my lessons. Or I can make my kid sit there with their phone filming me while I cook. And while I talk about the fact that this recipe calls for 4 and there's 6 people in my family, and I'm going to do this and scale it up and have them listen, have them point out the things that I said that were fraction related and see if I was right and see what I'm going to do. And then literally, it's not that hard to recognize how you can create reality and relevance in your world for kids. And there's a big, big, big opportunity here to transition from us being the person who always thinks that up and always delivers that and put it into the hands of our kids. Because if they are the ones doing this, they will be the ones learning it. They would love to produce videos of themselves. They'd love to be able to try some new things out. My 8th grade daughter doesn't want her face in there, but she'll talk over a video. And my 10th grade daughter would love to be a part of experiences filming with her kids and doing other things as well. Like, we have different kids in different worlds. Put creation and understanding in their hands, and then what you'll receive is authentic demonstration of student learning. If they can show you that they've learned in a creative way that's possible to them, then the avenue for assessment and the avenue for learning is the relevant opportunity, not just the experience.
Exactly. Amen.
All right,
I don't have anything left to say after that. And drop the mic. So much good though, for real. Like, I guess that's the piece that's evergreen about your book, really. I feel like all of our books kind of have that evergreen edge that is part of our brand, right? But definitely with instant relevance, because there's always going to be something that's relevant. Then how do we use it for learning? How do we bring it into the learning atmosphere? Like you said, like, even with what you were talking about, video and yourself cooking. I mean, I do that on my Instagram stories. Why not
put it out for kids?
Pull it up the next day for my kids and say, okay. Right. So I made waffles last night, these protein waffles, because I was bound and determined I was going to have them. You know what I'm saying? Then you have this. You can make it into something, a learning experience.
And again, so much power comes from listening. You know, my son is 9, and for the last 2 days, he's been asking if he can learn how to make a cake. And we're back on the cake example, in case anybody's hungry. Sorry about that.
Somebody wanted a cake earlier. Even
he's asking that. Sorry, I'm going to jump real quick. Steve Messina just said, can Desmos be used for other subjects other than math? And yes, it can. The activity builder has activities for lots of different areas. I can, if you tweet me or email me, I can drop you in a search from that. But my son's been asking about making cakes, because my birthday is coming up next Monday. So in case anybody was wondering what to get me, but my birthday's coming up next Monday, and he wants to make me my cake. And I want him to try it. I want him to fail. I want him to mess up a cake. I want him to follow some rules. I want him to see if he can figure out what to do and look around the house and see what he said, because he's never cooked before. But he wants to now. I'm not going to say, you know what, that's a really good idea. Let's make a cake in August when I have a little bit more time. Right. That's the instant relevance message. It's not just relevant, but it matters now. And so in that experience, I can take him now and help him learn how to make a cake, or my wife can help him learn how to make a cake because it's my birthday. Or I can look for an opportunity that I can say, you know what, I found something here that's not relevant now, but I know when it's going to be. And then I can pull it back in when I know when it will, and kind of lie to my kids, which is always okay to do. You know that, right? And tell them that it kind of just happened to me. But that's the message inside Instant Relevance, is that I have a lot of short stories in here that were actively relevant at the time. Something about a Super Bowl that we saw. I didn't put this one in there. The Ice Bucket Challenge was there. There's certain things about different aspects. The presidential election was going on. There's another one of those going on now, in case you didn't notice. But those were relevant at the time. So the exact specific example from the book isn't necessarily relevant at the time now. What is relevant is the lessons we can take from how to apply that opportunity to our classrooms, and how to develop a mindset for looking for those opportunities, whether they exist in a quick turnaround, whether it exists in having to follow through with a question that was asked in my classroom and just take it and run because now is the time to make it powerful, or whether some of these actually still do apply and we can actually pull that back in. So that's one of the biggest things that I like about this, is I still have people sending me tweets or emails or Facebook messages about, like, hey, I read your book and this example really connected with me, so I tried this with my kids, or this made me think about this, which took me here. Have you thought about that? And then I'm like, no, I haven't thought about that. I'd love to try that. And then I can bring that back to other teachers and other places and share those as well. So that's the experience that we all share that I think is one of the powerful experiences that I try to purvey in my writing.
Agree. And you do such a beautiful job of it. It reminds me so much, Dennis, and I hate to bring this to me because, I'm not really super selfish. I don't think of myself as selfish, but I remember so reading Instant Relevance, and then what you're talking about is sometimes it's the metaphor, it's the ideas that come out of it that other people think of, and they're like, oh, this reminds me and I can do this. And I think that's the best kind of books. Those are my favorite kind of books. To where you get an idea, and it's not necessarily that exact idea, but you just take it and you're like, this reminds me of this, and I'm going to do it right now. This sparked this interest in me. So this reminds me of when you said, hey, Tara, so book snaps, it's kind of a big deal right now. And I'm thinking the Super Bowl is coming up. What if we did some kind of Super Bowl snap? So if anybody out there in our audience, and I see some of you that do Super Bowl snaps, if you are wondering where that came from and you've never read my blog, well, it came from Dennis. So Dennis asked me, he's like, hey, you think we could use this idea for Super Bowl? And what did I tell you? I was like, I don't even hardly watch the Super Bowl.
You hate football. I'm like, well, that doesn't matter.
This was like a perfect example of something in his book, right? I'm like, Dennis, sorry, I'm not really interested in the Super Bowl. I only watch the halftime. Yeah, and that's kind of it. I make snacks, and that's kind of what I do until the Chiefs got in, and then I got really excited about it. But before that, I didn't really know what was going on, and that's when book snaps, Super Bowl snaps. And you said that's the whole thing. Let's just use this idea of book snaps and snap some of these pieces in the Super Bowl, and let's see if we can use them for a learning experience for our kids tomorrow. Then you hooked me in. I'm like, oh, well, my kids are going to be coming in tomorrow. I kind of need to have something ready for them. Maybe they'll be talking about the Super Bowl. I can find some things that I can figure out that would make a learning experience. And we did it. And then what happened, the coolest thing that happened, is I started loving the Super Bowl and actually learning stuff about it.
And I also saw the power of something like Snapchat, where I was maybe avoiding it for my own kids, saying like, oh, you shouldn't have that kind of social media. But look how you can connect and do it safely. You had a passion for using Snapchat and book snaps to grow students' learning. I had a passion for the Super Bowl and for trying to connect to a relevant national craze or event, which is one of the subtitles, one of the chapters in Instant Relevance. And the two of those came together into something that we both took and turned into something new. And let's be perfectly clear about that. That's exactly what we want all students to learn all the time when we teach them, not to just tell me what I told them,
right?
But to desire to learn something new based on what they learned here and the ability to make a connection to that new thing and actually grow from it. Because if my students leave my classroom ready to take what they learned and say, hey, that was really interesting. I see that a little in there. What's going on over there? And try to figure that thing out too. Or they ask a question and say, that sounds familiar. How can I build on that? How can I learn that? Or they just say, I want to make something and he gave me some of the information. I'm going to go back and try to figure that stuff out and take it from here. Like, that's the world that I want my students to live in. The one that they live in now, or we used to live in, of being receptacles of information because there was no long-term receptacle of information, is gone. Like, that receptacle we are currently recording live on right now. Exactly. The internet reminds me of more things I had forgotten than I knew I had forgotten. I get daily updates of photos that I've taken from the past and videos and all the things that I've done and memories of people that I forgot existed. And I'm like, wow, this is a really great experience. I'm so glad the internet reminded me of that. Well, the internet can do math problems for me. The internet can find facts for me. It can make timelines for me. I don't need to memorize those things. I need to be a person who knows how to think with them, apply them, and expand them. And that's one of the things that kind of struck me really recently is, again, the reason why I'm wearing the Dave Burgess shirt. In case you guys were planning on going to this, it's the Dave Burgess DBC Con, and now it's titled The Lost Experience, because clearly we didn't get to go. It was going to be last weekend. I told my wife on Friday, I'm like, I would have been on a flight to San Diego right now. And she's like, glad you're home. What's for dinner? So we had this experience planned, but let's not drop the fact that, like, a lost experience is an experience. And that's something that we can share together. It's like in music, that which makes the sound is as important as the rest. Without the rest, you don't hear the sound and the differences between them and the rhythms. And so we lost an experience to come together as authors, people who appreciated those authors, people who appreciated their messages, teachers and learners and administrators to share. And instead, we turned it into a virtual opportunity. But I want to be really perfectly clear and succinct about this. Like, losing the experience of going to DBCCon upset me. I wish I could have been there.
Yeah.
But it happened the same weekend. Men and women in this country are losing their lives to a virus, or losing their lives to violence, or they're losing their businesses or their economy, or they're losing family members. This experience that I lost is minuscule compared to that. But it's a reminder to me to be empathetic and thoughtful when it comes to those people who have lost what is their career, their life, or like someone has lost their own lives. They have no more experiences.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the experience. And that is relevant beyond our education, but it's clearly a conversation and an important part of what it is we need to think about when we teach moving forward. As a math teacher, I've connected with Sunil Singh, if any of you have connected with him. And a lot of what he talks about in his, when he gets a chance to, is that mathematics, in the way we taught it, is inherently bad, unless you're a white guy, to be honest. Like, it has held down races. It's not the gateway to the future. It's the gatekeeper holding people out. And we want to look at what the world is like if we can reimagine and reconceive school and teaching and learning. And this lost experience might have been an opportunity for us to begin some of that re-envisioning. Maybe we would have had conversations there about that. But I'd gladly give this up if we can totally turn it around and face forward and think about other people's experiences instead of our own. So that's a conversation I've had with my teenagers in my house. Like, that's a relevant learning opportunity. And it matters now. It's instantly relevant now. As an adult and as a father, I can't turn from now and say, there'll be a chance to teach my kids this later. It won't be as poignant and the message won't come through as clearly.
So true. Wow. Another drop the mic moment. And a moment of silence, please.
I carry a lot of mics with me. It's what I do.
You have a lot of mics. You just keep picking it up again. Thank you so much. That's powerful. And I think it's just really, really important that we do adjust our sails, right? I mean, we talk about that in the Pirates realm. We talk about adjusting our sails, and I think that's really what had to happen. It was the right thing to do. And like you said, I mean, it's so small compared to what a lot of people are losing right now. So we need to be mindful of that, keep our perspectives keen, and be able to see things from other people's perspective too. That's just been a really huge eye opener for me during the pandemic, during our global crisis and situation politically that we're dealing with right now, is just being able to try and learn the perspectives of others. And it's just been powerful for me. I've been reading like crazy, watching all kinds of videos, and really just trying to get a good grip on that. And yeah, thank you for keeping it real with us.
Well, that's what I try to do. But at this point, like, in a time of human separation, what is more relevant than human connection? And what is more relevant than what we're talking about now? And that real empathy. There's nothing. And across grade levels, as we plan for the fall, a lot of us will be planning for curriculum revisions. Like, oh, I would have taught this, but the kids didn't learn a lot of this stuff, so I'm going to have to make some shifts. A lot of schools are bringing me in their summer to sit with their math teachers and talk about how they're going to reorganize their math curriculum. And I think what needs to be clearly a part of that conversation is, how are you going to reorganize that math curriculum through a new lens? Why are you reorganizing it? Just to put it in a new order? Or are you reorganizing it with the thought of what is valuable to learn, why we're learning what we're learning, a real curriculum theory point of view of why we're learning it, who it is intended for, and how it should be intended for everyone in a way that is both as effective for all students to learn. So there's a lot of questions to consider. As like here in New Jersey, I have a week's worth of school left. Like I said, some of you have been out for a week or two. Some of you have been out for a month if you're in the South. And I think we need to really consider those things. But at the same time, let's not drop the fact that I was just talking about cake for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there is simplicity and joy in the everyday activities of what we do that truly does connect with kids and truly makes them happy and helps them continue to want to learn. Not everything we do has to be focused on an extreme social justice or on change, but everything we do should be thought through, like, will my kids experience this and enjoy it? And as a teacher administrator, as a school administrator, one of the things I did that I tried to change the most was I took the teachers had to submit lesson plans online through through their Google Drive. I changed the title of their lesson plan folder to student experiences because I wanted them to think about what they were planning from the viewpoint of the people who were coming, not to think about what they were planning from what they were going to deliver. What is the student experience for today? And if they realized that what they had on that document was that those kids were going to sit there for 45 minutes, I asked them to change it.
So good. Student experiences. I think we could all benefit from that. Like even our own thoughts, instead of like anything we're thinking about doing, it's a new experience. And when you frame it like that, it means something more. Mm-hmm. And if we are creating these learning experiences, like you said, you talked about cake and we talked about empathy and we talked about social justice. We've talked about a lot of things, but the truth is that's human, right? Mm-hmm. That's what being real is all about. It's connecting to humans. Exactly. We share that message, Denis. We do.
Yeah.
I think that's why we connect so well with Super Bowl snaps and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about bettering ourselves for the people that we serve and better serving the people, those within our realm of influence. That's what it's all about. And if we're going to do that, we have to keep it real. Mm-hmm. We have to be able to relate to them. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. You're awesome, dude. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited.
I'm glad I could be here. And like I said, again, if you weren't here in the beginning, if you want a Make It Real sticker, then go ahead and tweet me at MathDenisNJ for that. Or if you're a friend with me on Facebook, or you can connect me at Denis@DenisSheeran.com or visit DenisSheeran.com and get in touch with me somehow. I'll send you with your address. I'll send you a sticker. It's kind of fun. If you have read Instant Relevance, I would love to hear how you've implemented some of this stuff. Share your stories with me. Drop a review on Amazon for the book. That'd be fantastic too. And if you haven't, I hope that you would. And I hope that you would really be able to share your experiences with me and help me share my experiences with you. So thanks again for having me, Tara. I appreciate it.
Yes, you're awesome. By the way, he's the shortest winded DVC author we have.
Right. So it's really more of a pamphlet than anything else.
You can read this book really quickly and gain so much from it. That's the best part. It's just very usable. I love it. We will be sending this beautiful book out to one of the live comments. So thank you guys for sharing so many of your comments. I really, really appreciate them. They're still coming in. Also, if you have any questions for Denis, right now would be a good time to ask them. Hopefully they'll come in before we shut this thing down really quick. But I would like to remind you that every single live comment in these live shows, which happen Monday through Wednesday throughout the week of June, and throughout the month of June, are going to be summer learning, where we bring in an author, they share a little bit of something new they want to teach us or share with us, or something that's been on their mind that relates to their book. And then at the end of the show, all the live comments that comment, all the live participants that comment get a entry to win one of these free books. So it's a great way to add to your PD library. All you have to join us for 30 minutes, maybe max, add a few comments in, and then that's it. You're done. And you have the opportunity to win something new and learn something new. So we hope that you enjoy these summer learning experiences. We are super excited to be back on Facebook Live with you. And Denis, you are just a gem. I'm so grateful. I wish so bad we could hang together. We got to hang out in New Jersey one time.
Soon enough. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And well, we did that one cool interview that
we'll do it again. We'll just hang out and talk it like it's an interview.
The whole thing. They never put it live. I don't know what happened. But we just need to make it happen again. And yeah, we're just so excited to have all of you on here with us, have you learning with us. We're so excited for our authors to take up a little bit of their time to share a little bit of their message with you. So thank you for all your comments. I'm not seeing any questions. I am seeing some. They definitely want stickers. So be sure and follow him. What is your handle again on Twitter?
Math, Denis NJ.
Math, Denis, MJ.
And, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
There it is.
Twitter. I'm going to say DM him on Twitter for a
definitely.
sticker. There we go. We'll get you guys hooked up with some stickers. Thank y'all so much for joining. We just love having you, and we'll see you again tomorrow, same place, same time. And Denis, thank you so much again for being on the show.
Anytime.
We appreciate you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.